yeah, this is where I'm living now, this disco club place. It's pretty cool. You know, I find it nice to have air conditioning again. Decently nice overall. Although, this might sound crazy, there are disco-themed episodes of shows. It just kind of got me in the mood of this, you know? They've been playing a lot of Staying Alive here. They've been playing it so much that I know all of the lyrics to the song. A crowning achievement of mine. Anyways, yeah, disco episodes. So, The Office, a show I've never talked about. What is there to say that hasn't already been said? One of, if not the greatest sitcoms to ever grace television. It's probably my personal favorite. I mean, after all, I've seen every single episode from it. I feel like I don't really need to explain the show because, you know, again, The Office. But I do need to explain the context for the specific episode I'm going to talk about. Alright, so more towards the end of Season 5 of The Office, Michael leaves Dunder Mifflin, trying to start his own new paper company, the Michael Scott Paper Company. Pam actually also leaves with him, and later they also get Ryan, to all have a nice trio. So he ends up lasting like a few episodes because Dunder Mifflin ends up just buying out the Michael Scott Paper Company. But during the time the paper company is around, they end up getting this little office inside the building that the Scranton branch of Dunder Mifflin is also in, so there's some fun conflict there. Once Dunder Mifflin buys out the Michael Scott Paper Company, there's no real reason for Michael to still have this. So on the final day that he, has it, he throws a little cafe disco in it. The thing is, though, nobody wants to come to Michael's, little disco area. They all have work to do and stuff like that. Plus, they just don't really want to, go down there. They don't really have that much reason to. It eventually becomes popular, though, because Aaron and Kelly, Aaron's a character added, in Season 5 whenever Pam leaves for the, paper company for a bit. Anyways, Aaron and Kelly end up making the Cafe Disco thing popular. This one guy comes, and then, somebody else comes, and then eventually becomes really popular. Yeah, so Michael comes back down here, and then more people, start partying. And then by the end, pretty much everyone is partying down there. The episode is just pretty chill all around. It's not the craziest thing ever, but it's a nice breather from that whole arc that, just finished. There is also a sort of B-plot to this episode as well. So when Michael tries getting people to come down to the disco, Phyllis eventually does, at first, but she breaks her back, and Dwight tries massaging and fixing her. Honestly, that's kind of it for that. It's not bad, there are plenty of good jokes in it. It's just, the B-plot isn't the craziest thing, but the A-plot isn't either. It's overall just a pretty chill episode. There's also kind of the fact that Phyllis thinks her husband Bob is kind of cheating on her, but that doesn't really go anywhere in the episode, and honestly, not even in the rest of the show. Eventually, at the end, though, Phyllis and Dwight ended up coming back down to the Cafe Disco. But yeah, that's pretty much all the main, actually, plot in this episode. But it's not really meant to be a big story episode. Again, it's a nice breather from all of that crazy stuff that happened the past few episodes. Oh, but there are still plenty of good jokes in it.
This used to hang from my windshield, but it belongs in here.
Hey, thank you, Creed. You really got this place.
No problem. I'll just have no idea who's driving behind me now.
Even Angela's pretty good in this episode. She comes down getting some, reports for Michael, but then Michael makes her stay because he only signs one thing every single song. So Angela has to stay down there, but she just isn't really she doesn't like the life of partying or just music in general, kind of. She's Angela. So the whole time she's trying to clean, and Michael's like, hey, no cleaning fun, and she's like, how else am I supposed to have fun down here? But eventually, she does have that kind of good ending of tapping her foot, so it all just culminates pretty well. Then, actually, Angela sucks. Why can't she party like me? I was a party animal, There is sort of one more thing to this. Jim and Pam kind of get married in this, after all this stuff in the episode happens. Their wedding isn't the episode after, but they legally get married right after all the events of this episode happen. Yeah, how I was saying that Aaron is the new receptionist of the show, Pam just becomes a saleswoman for the rest of the series. But yeah, overall, it's just a chill episode, We gotta get back in this kind of groove of things, almost like this status quo after all of that, crazy Michael Scott Paper Company stuff. So overall, I think it works good in the show. And again, there are still plenty of good jokes, and there's just fun dance stuff. I like all the characters. It's just a fun episode, Okay, another franchise I haven't talked about too much, but it's Peanuts. One of the biggest media franchises ever. One of that's been around for over 70 years. It's Charlie Brown, the hero of the story. Everyone thinks he's a loser, but we, the audience, love and root for Charlie Brown. But yeah, the kids in the franchise, they just absolutely hate this kid.
I got a popcorn ball. got a fudge bar. I got a pack of gum. I got a rock.
Even his own dog. He's not like a normal dog, and he still makes fun of him. I don't know. To me, it's always just been a really fun, kind of edgy, honestly, like, hilarious a lot of the time, series to me. I don't know, man. It's just, these kids in Peanuts always felt like real kids to me. That's what the series is about anyways. Again, almost the biggest franchise ever, so everyone knows Charlie Brown, Linus, Lucy, Snoopy, Sally, Peppermint Patty, Marcy, Woodstock, Pigpen, all the gang. But yeah, dude, I love Peanuts. Although I find a lot of their later TV specials aren't the greatest. Mostly a lot of, like, pacing issues and all, like, just writing issues kind of in general. I think the Charlie Brown Christmas is probably, like, the greatest Christmas special of all time. Definitely probably the best Peanuts special, at least. It honestly might be my favorite piece of Christmas media ever. I don't know, though. It has some pretty fierce competition. Something about it just has so much charm and wit. There's great music, a great story, some of the best characterization in the entire series. Just something about it, man. Really funny, it was super progressive for its time. It's all about the commercialization of Christmas, which is funny because the special was one of the most commercialized things ever, more in the present and stuff like that. But yeah, it was super, like, progressive and, like, wild for the time, A special about commercialization of Christmas? That's not what the media or just anything want. I'd say kind of like the 50s and 60s. This was around the era where Christmas was getting super, super commercialized. This was the real start of that era, I would say. But yeah, it's amazing. Anyways, I feel like a lot of the specials, mainly like the ones from the 80s and 90s, kind of had this weird feel to them. Like, like pacing can be off. Like some of them can be real slow, they just don't have a great plot in general, just worse characterization. Overall, a lot worse of quality than, a Charlie Brown Christmas and all the other specials in the 60s, Great Pumpkin is also really good, Charlie Brown's All-Stars, all those are really good. I just feel like kind of the 80s and 90s, the quality went down, a bit. Probably one of the most memorable ones from around this era, especially the 80s, is the special It's Flashbeagle Charlie Brown from 1984. It's the main disco special of Charlie Brown, I guess. Very in its time, I should say, This was fresh off the heels of Flashdance, and so it's probably the most 80s Peanut special that we ever got. It's alright. Okay, yeah, it's better than a lot of other ones from this time, I guess, but still, there's some weird stuff about it. Like, for one, whenever people remember or bring up this special, they mainly remember the actual Snoopy Flashdance sequence, It's where Snoopy and Franklin go to this dance club and also meet Franklin. Overall, this actual sequence itself is great. The song is incredible. It's made by the same people who did the second theme song for the Charlie Brown and Snoopy show, which is also incredible. All the visuals in the actual Flashbeagle segment are great. Overall, it's the best and most memorable part of the special by far. Other than that, I'm not really into a lot of the other stuff they do here. Mainly a lot of dance and music stuff is what they do. But yeah, for an actual disco episode, the main disco stuff isn't that Flashbeagle part. But either way, again, it's the most famous part of the special. But yeah, for the other stuff, there's just kind of multiple music numbers. And also a large part of it is at this party that the kids have. Also, there's a scene after the Flashbeagle sequence when Sally brings Snoopy to her show and tell thing, and Snoopy dances again. I think there are plenty of good jokes here still, like the punch one, where Snoopy is doing some wild stuff in the punch bowl, and is just giving people the punch still, and Charlie Brown is absolutely terrified, like he's in absolute horror at everything, like look at his face! But yeah, mainly throughout the special, Snoopy wants to dance, I guess. There's not really a specific plot that goes on here. The closest there is that party stuff, and that still kind of feels like filler. I guess all the characters feel in character, at least in this one. Weirdly out of the opening, aka pretty much just the first act, is Peppermint Patty stuff, actually. There's not really much Snoopy stuff or just anything. It's mainly just Peppermint Patty. I always liked Peppermint Patty as a character. This more sporty, fun girl that likes Charlie Brown, or should I say, Chuck. And honestly, I get it. Look how attractive this guy is. But yeah, she's a good character, but it's strange they focus on her so much in the beginning to then just throw her away. Overall, in terms of a disco episode, it's alright. In terms of an actual episode or special, It's also alright, I guess. The whole thing that was actually, like, really good was that Flashbeagle sequence. I would have loved the special if it was kind of, all stuff like that, but as it stands, it's in this weird place. It's dated, but it still has good jokes. It also has a weak plot. So, yeah, I definitely say that's worse than the Cafe Disco episode from The Office, but, it's still not that bad. I at least wasn't miserable watching it, so yeah, far from the greatest thing ever, but it honestly wasn't that bad. Alright, so I've covered pretty much half the shows I wanted to, although I do have some news. So the owner found out I've been living here for a bit, and they only allowed me to stay if I carried their disco ball. So I am the disco ball guy. I have a job now! Okay, this show I have somewhat talked about before. I've talked about its Halloween episode, which is probably my personal favorite Nickelodeon Halloween special ever. Hey Arnold has always been this super interesting show to me, though, because it's never been about exactly one thing. Like, a lot of people say, oh, it's about this kid Arnold who helps people around his town and community. Like, yeah, that's a lot of episodes, but it's not all of them. One of the show's most famous episodes is Helga on the Couch, where none of that happens. Speaking of Helga, though, I hear a lot of people say that she's actually the real main character, but I couldn't really agree with that either. She doesn't even have a single appearance in this episode that I'm about to talk about. If I were to describe the show, it would go something like this. Hey Arnold is a show about a community of people living in an urban city area, although primarily it focuses on the real struggles kids go through, be it embarrassment, sadness, alcoholic parents, just bad home life in general. Helga is one of the saddest cases of this. In a nutshell, she's this character that has a crush on Arnold, but other people would make fun of her if she reveals it, as shown in the Helga on the Couch episode. So she pretends to hate Arnold and just becomes a bully. Just, man, I don't know. Like Peanuts, it always felt like what real kids go through. Although the show is mainly the struggles, there's always a bright end of the tunnel. A lot of the time, it's Arnold. Arnold helps tons of kids, even other people, be it the Stoop Kid, Choco Boy, or Pigeon Man. All people Arnold ends up helping. It also helps that this show is really funny, too.
Brady, what are you doing here?
I don't know.
Anyways, yeah, I'm here to specifically talk about the Season 1 episode, 6th Grade Girls. It's about these two 6th grade girls who are mad at their boyfriends, so they go to the dance with Arnold and Gerald, who are 4th graders. They do it just in spite with their other boyfriends, pretty much. The thing is, they do go back with their boyfriends kind of at the end, but still, they actually had a really fun time with Arnold and Gerald. But the main disco stuff is at the dance. I actually really love when they are dancing. Like, look how smooth this arm animation is. Like, man, this whole part just looks super incredible. But yeah, that's just kind of the main plot. Arnold and Gerald have the goal of getting a kiss, but that's kind of all. It's just them going to this disco dance with these 6th grade girls who are doing it in spite of their boyfriends, and that's pretty much it. But it still works pretty well. It's only 11 minutes, so it's all paced out pretty well. I feel like with simple plots for shows, they should have, shorter lengths. And if they have more crazy plots, it should be, longer length. I think, like, it's Flashbeagle Charlie Brown would actually kind of benefit from this pretty well. I get it was a TV special, and, like, why would it only be 10 minutes long? But I still think overall it would have been, just much better. That special can be a little slow. It's not terrible, But again, I think this episode does a better job because it's only 11 minutes. There's less stuff to tell than something like, Cafe Disco. So it works out well. Like, for example, Cafe Disco has an A plot and a B plot. This one kind of just has an A plot. So again, paced, timed, super well. I will say, I love how Arnold and Gerald treat these 6th grade girls as super high-level people, when really they are just 6th graders. That's what the episode makes it feel like how Arnold and Gerald are so entranced by these, 12-year-olds? The thing is, the 6th graders do kind of act mature, though. That's my main problem with it. I like how Arnold and Gerald treat 6th graders as these super crazy advanced people, when really, 6th graders are also, pretty immature. But the episode does kind of treat them as being mature. At least not what I would expect, from 6th graders. I honestly think it would have been funnier if the 6th graders were, even, more of, they were less mature kind of than Arnold and Gerald. Like, they were kind of like losers, but Arnold and Gerald still looked at them as super, high-level people because they're just in 6th grade, when really Arnold and Gerald are actually, more mature. It's just kind of like this whole thing where it doesn't really matter, you know what I mean? I just thought it would have been funnier. I do love their voices, though. Something about it always just had this kind of, cool tone to me, I guess. Kind of. Plus, I actually like how they interact with Arnold and Gerald. Yeah, they do go back with their boyfriends, but they still had a good time and still, do like Arnold and Gerald, It doesn't end on, a super sad note, you know what I mean? It ends on a pretty happy, decent note. Alright, I think it's a solid episode. Far from the greatest in the show, but it's good. So yeah, nothing that crazy, but it's just a solid, decent little episode. Also, I will say, yes, I did get a new shirt.
Don't start unbelieving. Never, do not feel your feelings.
Alright, another show I haven't talked about before. Next time we'll talk about the Japanese exclusive All Nippon Super Mario Bros. What do you mean I've already talked about that before? Anyways, Gravity Falls. What can I say that hasn't already been said, man? It's a show about these twins, Dipper and Mabel, as they're forced to live with their great uncle Stan in the most weird, mysterious town in America, Gravity Falls, Oregon. Their uncle Stan runs a tourist attraction, the Mystery Shack, which is also where they live. Throughout the show, the twins, mainly Dipper, find out and fight more weird and mysterious monsters. It's always been a good setup for a show, but the main reason it keeps captivating me is because of its characters and surprisingly sharp and witty writing. Something about these characters and their character relationships, it just always felt like a nice show, but all these characters had such different personalities that all bounced off each other super well. And that's what keeps me super interested in the show. I love all the monster stuff, but you gotta have a good, cast of characters behind it all. Especially Season 2. Since the show was so popular, Disney allowed them more creative freedom, so they got really dark and, disturbing in Season 2. It's also not even just monsters, but mainly just anything of the supernatural. It's also a sci-fi mystery show, I guess, Again, it's also a comedy, though, but it all blends together really well. There's other characters outside of Dipper, Mabel, and Stan. There's also Seuss, who's this pretty simple, nice guy. He's not crazy smart, but he's not really dumb, either. He mainly has a heart of gold. There's also Wendy, this, 15-year-old girl who works at the Mystery Shack that Dipper has a crush on. She's an alright character, I guess. The show just never really did that much with her. That's not even saying how good Dipper, Mabel, and Stan are. Dipper's this kind of average kid we all, relate to, but he's also the one interested in all the mysteries, all the conspiracies and stuff. He's definitely the main character, I'd say. Mabel is always super optimistic, silly, fun-loving girl. She's also interesting because every single episode she has a different sweater. And then Stan, this sort of big barrel-chested guy, he scams people and he always likes having kids fight and also scaring them too. He's that kind of, relative you have that like a great uncle, who can sometimes, be a jerk, but has lots of white chest hair, and a gold chain. He's that guy, trust me. I would know I have 12 uncles who are exactly like this. So yeah, one of, if not the best Disney Channel shows ever. The only one that kind of rivals it for me would be Phineas and Ferb, but man, I very much flip-flop on which one I like more. Anyhow, the 7th episode of the show is called Double Dipper. So Grunkle Stan throws a party at the Mystery Shack to get more people to come. During all this, Dipper and Wendy are at the ticket stand. The whole episode, Dipper wants to talk to Wendy and, ask her to dance. He has this massive list of stuff to talk about. Also, early in the episode, Dipper and Mabel find this copier that can copy humans. So Dipper ends up using this to his advantage to get closer to Wendy. The clones can die, though, from water or just any liquid. He mainly clones himself at first, that way there'll be one Dipper at the ticket stand and one at the party, but he eventually ends up getting 10 clones. But when Dipper ends up talking to Wendy without using the list, he realizes that it's actually better, but all the other clones get mad at him, and they have this big fight. Eventually all of them die, except for Dipper 2, aka Tyrone. It's just what he names himself. They realize that they should have just talked to Wendy and been all normal, but then Tyrone dies, and Dipper wants to kind of just be himself in the end. There's also a B-plot where Mabel is trying to win this dance contest against the rich girl Pacifica. From just this episode, though, you would think Pacifica's a one-off character, she's kind of a bit basic in this one. But no, she returns a decent amount in the show, and she even grows, she becomes a more fleshed-out character. Anyways, Mabel also gets her 2 best friends in this one, Grenda and Candy. Mabel actually does lose, unfairly I might add, but she ends up kinda, not caring, mainly because now she has 2 best friends. Seuss is also the DJ in this one, which is just great. And overall, a lot happens in the episode, but it's all paced really well and has a great story. That's not even to mention the jokes. Like every other episode of the show, there are plenty of great jokes in here. But yeah, it is a disco episode after all, so I felt like it fit in with the other episodes I covered. But man, yeah, I really like this one. It's a really good episode of the show. Maybe top 10, honestly. I'm still wondering which episode I like more overall, Cafe Disco or Double Dipper. I think I like Double Dipper more, but as a show overall, I still think I like The Office more. But yeah, it's a really great episode of Gravity Falls. If I were to rank these all, I guess it would be number 4, it's Flashbeagle Charlie Brown, number 3, 6th Grade Ghost from Hey Arnold, number 2, Cafe Disco from The Office, and number 1, Double Dipper from Gravity Falls. So yeah, overall though, I still enjoyed all of these, even Flashbeagle. It's very messy and not one of my favorite Peanut specials, but it wasn't terrible. So yeah, I really enjoyed these disco episodes. And those were all the episodes I wanted to cover. Oh, I got you. Pretty cool, right? Alright, I think I've talked about enough disco episodes to the point that I say, you know what? Maybe I should indulge in the disco activities. You know, I've been told I've been a great dancer, particularly a great ballerina. So, you know.